composer Leonard Bernstein once called Elvis Presley the greatest cultural force in the 20th century. There's no question that the king left an indelible public legacy. But what was he like in private? Well, recently Scott Ross met a musician who performed with Elvis for years, and he's written a book about what he calls the gospel side of Elvis.
It's estimated that Elvis Presley sold over 1 billion records worldwide. That's more than anyone in the history of the record industry. But he only won 3 Grammys, and those were for How Great Thou Art and He Touched Me, all gospel performances.
Oh, he touched me.
Joe Mascao, member of the hit gospel group The Imperials, who performed with Elvis for many years, knows another side of Elvis unknown to many Elvis fans.
My wife Ned and I were listening to his gospel albums, the CDs now. And when you hear that man sing that music, you said he wasn't just singing songs. This was something that was coming from here.
Exactly.
Was that real for him?
Oh, yeah. My favorite performance of Elvis is from the '68 special when he sings in this white suit, If I Can Dream.
Out there in the dark, there's a beckoning candle. Oh, yeah.
But he sings, If I Can Dream of a Better Land. It's so convincing, and it's so honest. And that's the real Elvis.
The early part of the book, you say, people have talked enough about the negative side. You said, I want to emphasize another side, and it's what the title says, the gospel side of Elvis. And story after story after story, he'd come off stage, he would work and work and work.
Yeah.
And then he would literally call you guys together, either backstage or in the hotel room,
Yep.
to have gospel sessions that went for hours, sometimes all night long.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, that's what he wanted to do. It was like there were 2 parts. It was Elvis the superstar, and he went out on stage with his jumpsuits, and he was Elvis. And then when he came off stage, he was Elvis Presley from Tupelo, Mississippi, that was brought up in the church, and he wanted to sing gospel music.
Then sings my soul.
The Imperials toured with Elvis from 1969 till 1972 and recorded 2 gospel albums with him, including Elvis's final Grammy Award-winning album, He Touched Me.
And now I know he touched me.
In 1998, the Imperials were inducted into the Gospel Music Association's Gospel Music Hall of Fame. Today, they still perform worldwide and have Elvis to thank for it.
Elvis opened the door for us. And so now, 30 years later, after his death, we're still singing around the world, and we're still singing gospel music to an audience that has never really heard it before. And Elvis is the one that opened the door for us.
As I understood it, when Elvis died, he was reading a book about Jesus in the search for the historical Christ.
Yeah, there's a lot.
All sorts of stories.
All sorts of stories. But I gave him a Bible, it's in there. It's really hard for me to talk about. It really is. But I said, Elvis, I've got something for you. And I said, I know you're struggling, and I know you're having a hard time. But every answer you need is in this book. So all you have to do is read it, and it's real simple now. It's in plain English. Just read this book. And we hugged, and I left. And that's the last time I saw him.
To use the vernacular, to use the terminology, was Elvis Presley saved? Did he know God? Did he know Jesus Christ?
Well, of course, I believe that he was.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a judge, and I'm not the final word on this. But from my experience and from being around him and from his attitude, he wasn't perfect. No.
I don't see anyone here.
No. Thank you. Yeah. He had demons. He had problems. It's really hard to imagine that a guy that was Elvis Presley could be without that.
Right.
But from all these indications and just being around him in these intimate settings, I really feel that he was a Christian. I really do. And I felt he was trying as hard as he could. He was holding on as hard as he could. And I hope to see him one day.
Most of us know a considerable amount about the public Elvis, but if you'd like to know the gospel side of Elvis, that's the title of the book that Joe Michelle wrote, and it's available in bookstores around the country. Fascinating.